You're about to find out what makes the world work. And I can tell you it's not governments, it's not philosophy, it's not your average sort of street corner philosopher's view on the world. It's people saying yes. I'm here to tell you that innovation, entrepreneurship is going to change the world, but it's not going to change anything if you can't get someone to say yes. In fact, I would go so far as to say the power to ethically persuade, influence, and communicate is the single most powerful skill on the planet. Today, we're going to talk about copywriting. I changed the number. Copywriting 501, how to grab your prospects by the eyeballs so that they will say yes. EdTalks Live is next. Someone wants to ask me what they think is the most important qualities in an entrepreneur. Well, I just gave you what I think is the most important quality, the ability of you as an entrepreneur to communicate verbally, to communicate in writing in such a way that it compels people to take action. Now, that action can be any number of things, including opting in on a website, going over to your sales page and buying a product, joining you on an online training, even just clicking that little like button on a Facebook post or an Instagram post. Whatever it is, it can spread the corners into every area of your life. So think about it. If you have kids, or if you've ever seen a kid, you know what? When you have kids, I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and a newborn, okay? And when you have kids, you know that your ability to persuade them to take action on certain things can be very important in your relationship with your kids. If you're married, or you want to be married someday, or you have a significant other, you know that your ability to persuade and communicate was very effective in you getting engaged, with that person in life or in business. It's your ability to communicate and persuade that matters. And I'm going to tell you, this is true not only in business, not only in relationships, not only in parenting, but also in global leadership. More on that to come. On today's show, we're going to talk about some ways that you can, specifically online, really today, some ways that you can persuade, influence, and motivate, show people how to say yes. I'm going to go back to some of the things that we taught last week just for a quick review, and then I'm going to roll up my sleeves and we're going to get into a sales letter and walking through the components of a great marketing message. Now, before I do that, do me a favor, would you? Jump into chat, say hello, tell me who you are, where you're from, and what you do. And we've got the whole family is checking in. So it's good to see everybody who just jumped into chat. You know what I would love to hear you say? I thought about this as a little entryway. Well, here's what I would love for you to do in chat, if you have it, okay? What I want you to put in chat today is tell me, what's the worst pickup line you've ever heard, okay? Now, it could be a pickup line that someone said to you. It could be a pickup line that you said to someone, or it could be a pickup line that you heard someone else say. And let's say it's one of those that you said to someone, but it was an awful pickup line. You can just tell us that you heard a friend say it, okay? So I'd love to hear in chat what you think is the worst pickup line you've ever heard, because we're going to use that today in our example. By the way, welcome, Barry. Barry checked in this morning, 9:32 this morning. Love it, man. Dennis, what's up? Good to see you as well. Wendell Buggs. Hey, guys. Welcome. Aaron Miller. Barry and Aaron, or Dennis and Aaron are talking about the book that they're reading right now. How are the baby chicks? Hold on a second. Let me show you. Some of you saw this. I posted this picture on Instagram. I think it was on Friday when I did that. So this is the chicks are actually below this. This is my 1-year-old. That's JoJo, Joanne Rush, and I posted this on Instagram. This is actually a chicken. This is the funniest looking chicken with the way that her feathers pop out like that, and her name is Butterscotch, by the way. I posted on Instagram and somebody hit me back and said, Ed, that looks like a bloomin' onion. That's pretty funny. So yes, that's a bloomin' onion. Thank you for asking, Dennis. Aubrey, good to see you as well. Well, it looks like you're here. You don't have to catch it on a replay. You're right here. Perdita, what's up? Good morning. Good to see you as well. Yes, no, you're welcome as well. Diana, good to see you as well. Jump on in. Say hello in chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do if you haven't already done so. As we're going on today's show, please jump in and say hello. And I haven't seen any good pickup lines yet, but we're going to get there. All right. So if you see, even if it's one that you've seen in a movie. All right. So today I'm going to be jumping into this is a little tool called Offer Creation Toolkit. Now the good news is, if you're coming to Big Pivot event, I'm going to take you through this. Actually, I'm going to take you through this on day one of the event. Here, let me tell you a little bit more about how the syllabus for this event is shaping up. There are marketing principles that will stand the test of time and frankly will never change even if it's 1,000 years from now. And then there are some things that just changed very rapidly in terms of the media implementing those marketing principles. So at Big Pivot, I'm going to be taking you through the first round of the training is building your message ideally targeted to your market, which just in full disclosure, this would have worked 200 years ago if we had done it. But then we're going to rapidly pivot at Big Pivot and begin to discuss how you can use these tools both online and offline to actively engage your market now. And you've heard me say this before, but plenty has changed in the last 2 months. I mean, the world completely changed, and there's a brand new world that we're all jumping into, and I'm going to show you what's working and what's not working. By the way, the website's below if you haven't had a chance to go take a look at that. It's bigpivotevent.com. All right, so I'm going to jump up onto the whiteboard, and we're going to start cranking for today. By the way, the website that I'm going to be using for this training today is actually this website, Big Pivot Event. So I'm going to be showing you some key components in the copywriting inside of this website right here. And by the way, I should tell you this, y'all, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's your feedback that leads me to the next topic for our EdTalks live shows. So some of you have asked for some shows on writing. In fact, some of you are getting ready to write your books, or you want to write better blog posts or articles or emails. And so tomorrow I'm going to start a series. Tomorrow is actually episode 55. Tomorrow I'm going to start a series called How to Write So People Read and Keep Reading. Okay, so it's a series on how to write really compelling, not just copy, but also books and articles and blog posts and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's get cranking. I'm going to jump over to the whiteboard. On my way over there, I'm going to play the Big Pivot bumper. Check it out. All right, so let's get into the teaching matter for today. So you'll remember all the way back in part one, I said that the very first thing that you're going to do when you're writing great copy is that you're going to think about and you're going to focus on your market. Now, actually, there are 4 M's. Usually people teach 3 of the M's, but there's actually 4 M's. The first M is mission, okay? That's always where you start. And that's for you, what is your big why? What is the big what that you are going to accomplish in this world? What drives you? What passion do you have? What is the thing that God put you on planet Earth to do? And my belief is, and I'll be talking about this, by the way, on my weekly flight brief this week, my belief is that you were put on planet Earth to do something amazing, and most people haven't found what that is, okay? So you always start with mission. This is your big purpose. This is your big why, okay? Then you identify your market. Who are the world changers that you're going to be working with? And from that comes your message. Now, we've been spending quite a bit of time here on the show talking about message. We're going to talk about it again on today's show. But the fourth M, the third that most people teach, is media. Okay, now this is actually really important. Market, an understanding of your market, how to identify, to target, how to identify and understand your market does not change. How to communicate to your market in terms of the mechanics of copy and communication, frankly, that doesn't change all that much as well. What does change is this right here, okay? So one of the first questions I always get from my new coaching members, when I sit down, in fact, I have 2 coaching days this week. One of the things I get from my new coaching members when I sit down one-on-one with them is they're like, hey, should I use Facebook or should I use Instagram? It's media questions, and I almost always start right back up here. I start with, hey, let's talk about what your goals and dreams and vision are. What do you want to accomplish? And then we move quickly into market, because when you ask market, and you'll see we're going to do this together at Big Pivot, when you get into market, the 3 questions that you're asking when it comes to market is who are they? Okay? what do they want, and where are they? It's interesting when you look at what I just wrote on the board here. When you find out who they are, you have the answer to the market question. When you find out what they want, you have the answer to the message question. And when you find out where are they, you have the answer to the media question. And with all the arrows and all of the moving parts on this board right here, this right here is all you need. I mean, look, you can summarize effective marketing in these 4 words and in the questions that I just gave you that follow those. Okay, so as you're telling me, by the way, remember I asked you your question. And if you just joined us, the question I asked was, what's the worst pickup line you've ever heard, said, or heard someone say? All right, I'm going to jump into chat real quick. And Barry said, I watched this pickup line from a guy in a nightclub. He said, I should like to have breakfast in the morning with you. Should I call you or nudge you? Boy, that's not good. That's not good. Hey, by the way, this right here, this is copy. This is the reason why I'm asking you these questions. This is copy. That was not an effective way to approach somebody. I don't know if you've seen the movie Hitch. I watched it 2 weeks ago, the day Michael Haig had just come on the show, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch this. So I texted Michael and I said, I'm watching your movie, man. And when I was watching Hitch, you see some great pickup lines and you see some not great pickup lines. This is copy. Okay, this is just copy. Okay, now further review on what was this, Thursday? I talked through the elements, okay, of a great offer. Again, I'm going to walk you through this in more detail when we get to Big Pivot, but this is the offer creation toolkit, okay? And inside of the perfect offer, you've got headline, which you'll remember was the ad for the ad. You've got the sub-headlines, which appear below the headline, but also throughout the rest of the copy to bring people into the copy. You've got an introduction to your copy, okay? You've got a core story, all right? This story is either a story or some sort of hook that connects the outside world with the inside world of your offer, okay? Then you have what I consider the most important part of the internal part of your copy, which are the benefits that also show up as bullets. You've got bonuses or the extras that you're going to send to people. Then you've got your guarantee. Okay, and then you've got price, and you'll remember whenever you mention price, you always price justify, which comes after this. Again, I'm just doing this by review. Then you've got your first, what's called a call to action, CTA. Then extra bonuses, if you have any. And then finally, you've got your final call to action, okay? Now, if you do those 12, fundamentally, you have the format for a very compelling sales letter, okay? So, add on to this 2 things I didn't mention on Thursday, okay? There's 2 key things that you need to overlay on top of this, all right? And what I'm going to tell you is like super important, and I guarantee you haven't heard any copywriters talk about this, okay? The number 1 thing that you add on to this is resilience. And the number 2 thing that you add on to this is agility. When you put a message into the market, you will always be making 1 of 2 adjustments to your message all the time. The first the first adjustment that you're going to be making to your message is a message to market adjustment. Let me explain what I mean by this. When you go to, I'm going to pull the website up actually, and I'm going to show it to you because this is actually going to be the syllabus for our time spent today. When you go to bigpivotevent.com, hang on, I'm going to pull it up. This is the website right here. When you go to bigpivotevent.com, you will see, first of all, the components that I mentioned on this website. So you'll see, first of all, the headline. We'll talk about this in just a second. And then you're going to see this video that pops up here, okay? Now, this particular video that's playing right here, this video is on its 4th iteration, okay? I've made 4 different changes to this. This is me actually making these changes to this particular video. Now, the reason why I'm making these changes is because at first, at Mike Semmel, by the way, every once in a while, Mike, he said, want to hear my story about landing on an aircraft carrier? If you're new to this show, that's going to make sense after about a couple shows. But if you've been around for a little while, Bobby said terrible pickup lines. Oh, man. All right. So So the reason why I'm on the fourth iteration of that video is because I'm making constant tweaks, constant little changes, constant tweaks. I will tell you that website that you saw right there probably went through about 10 different iterations and changes. And I'll tell you, the original headline that was on there isn't anywhere close to the current headline that's on that page. Okay, so you're going to make thousands of adjustments to your copy, thousands of adjustments to your marketing message, thousands and thousands, okay? And I will tell you that one of the biggest challenges that I see that entrepreneurs face is you're like, you know what, Ed, I'm gonna do it, okay? And you talk to all your friends, maybe you get some coaching and you're like, I'm gonna finally launch this thing, and I'm gonna finally get this book out there, I'm just gonna finally do it, I'm gonna do it. And then you're like, here you go, world. And the world's like, I didn't hear anything. You know, it's like the world's doing their own thing, okay? And so one of the biggest challenges as an entrepreneur is you're gonna put your stuff out there, and at first you may not get the response you want. Now, every once in a while, I'll tell you, like once out of every 20, 30 people that I work with, man, first time, boom. It's like everybody was ready for her to get right into the marketplace. So sometimes that happens, but sometimes, man, you get that first message out there and it's crickets. And I will tell you that's true for me too. I told the story last week of an offer that I did that got basically one person signed up, which shouldn't happen. All right. Oh goodness. Linda said, you look too hot to be my son's teacher. That's Linda's husband. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just messing with you. All right. So resilience is important. And then here's why. Because if you're one of those people that's like, oh man, you know Eeyore, remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, is like, everything's bad. My life is horrible. If that's the way that you are, the very first time you put your book out there and you get 2 sales instead of 2,000 sales, the tendency is to be like, oh man, but you're not. All you're doing now is now it's only time to make message to market adjustments. Remember I said there's 2 adjustments that you're gonna be making. Number 1 adjustment you're always gonna be making, which are message to market. And I will tell you, even when you have your sales copy dialed in, I'm talking like dialed in, you know what happens? Your market changes, the world changes a little bit, and you still have to change the message to your market just a little bit, okay? The second change that you're gonna make is a market change. Now, not all the time. You're always making market to message adjustments or message to market adjustments. You're not always making market adjustments, but I will tell you that when you get your copy out there, if it doesn't work at first, sometimes it's because it's in front of the wrong people. Let me give you an example. I had a client who had a client, okay? So it was one of my clients that we were all mutually kind of working around. He had a program for malware avoidance. His online program he sold to business owners to show them how to avoid getting a malware attack in their business. And he created this beautiful product. It was called the Malware Avoidance Kit. And I mean, it had everything in it, the CDs and the DVDs and the manuals. And this is back when people looked at CDs and DVDs. Homeboy got his whole thing out there, okay? And it was like, you could have heard the crickets on the side of the office, you know? There was nothing that was happening. And so we started working a little bit. And he started working with the person that I was working with. And they started making some tweaks and they started making some changes. And sure enough, someone said, you know what? I think it's the wrong market. What if we turn this product into the Malware Recovery Kit? And they changed their product from the Malware Avoidance Kit to the Malware Recovery Kit. And they marketed this to entrepreneurs whose businesses had just been hit by massive malware attacks so that they could take the kit out and quickly recover from that and lock their systems down so they didn't get hit again. And all of a sudden, the business went gangbusters. Now, here's the thing. Same product, same DVDs, same CDs, same manual. The only difference was it was marketed to the people who had a need for it and a want for it at the same time. And so it was the great Gary Halbert, who was a copywriter, one of the most famous copywriters, passed away about 7 years ago. And Gary Halbert once asked his audience, live event, he said, what's the most important thing if you're going to open up a hamburger stand? Okay, I'm going to ask you this question actually in chat. Okay, so the question goes like this. If you're going to open up a hamburger stand, what's the most important thing for you to have? You can choose anything, by the way. It could be the location, it could be the food, It could be your staff. It could be the theme, any of those things. You could choose anything. But what I want you to do in chat is to tell me, if you're going to open up a hamburger stand, what's the most important thing for you to have, okay? And as you're telling me the answer to that, what I'll go back to is the malware thing. Remember I said that there's 2 changes that you as an entrepreneur are always making. Change number 1 is a message to market change, and oftentimes it's a market change. If your copy doesn't work at first, you're going to constantly change your copy, the way that you're communicating, and second, often you're going to change who it's being communicated to, okay? So for example, I'll give you this as an example. This website that I just showed you, this Big Pivot website, if this thing wasn't working, part of the reason could be potentially, maybe I'm putting this in front of people who don't have the resources to invest in this. Like for example, you see this down here where it says it's $997 or 3 payments of $357. Well, listen, this website won't work if somebody doesn't have the ability to pay for it. So one of the most important things is to be in front of people who can pay for it. That's an example of a message or market change. All right, so Barry, heard this one before. Customers, hungry people. That's exactly what it is, by the way. You guys, hamburgers, that's important too. Did I do this one already? Y'all got it right. Carnivores, that's right, Mike. IT consultants. So the right answer, either I did this before, or you heard Gary Halbert before, or you Googled it. The answer is a starving audience. Gary Halbert basically said, look, when he did it for his audience, people were like, great location, the best menu, the veggie burgers. Here we go, veggie burgers. So, but the answer is hungry people. Because if you have really hungry people and you have burgers, it doesn't matter how good the burgers are. It doesn't matter how great your location is. It doesn't matter how amazing your staff is. You're going to sell burgers because you have hungry people. Okay? So fundamentally, sometimes an adjustment that you're making is getting your message in front of the right people. So one of the questions I ask often at my events and masterminds is I'll ask this question. I'll go, if you have a $20,000 coaching program. So I'll ask you this question. Tell me in chat, by the way. We're having good chat. Veggie burgers, yeah, that's right. So if you have a $20,000 coaching program, what is the most important criteria for your coaching members? Okay, so if you have like a coaching program where maybe like you work one-on-one with people like I do, you do like a little mastermind like I do, bring people together for 2 days to work on their business. If you've got a program like that, what's the most important criteria for the people who are enrolling in your program, okay? So I'm gonna race the board while you're answering that question. Your coaching program, what's the most important thing for you to have, criteria for you to have in your brand new coaching and mastermind members? What is the criteria? Start working on that while we do that. And then what I'm going to do when we come back from this question is I'm going to jump into the Big Pivot website. I'm going to go through some of the components inside this website so that you can see where these copywriting devices are on this particular page. All right. Some answers coming in, by the way. Nabi said the ability to pay. Aaron said they implement. Those are all good answers. I'll get to the right answer in just a second. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. This is not a trick question, by the way. This is just a question, and there's not even necessarily a right or wrong answer. I'm just going to say what I think the answer is. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump into, where are we at here? Let's jump into Big Pivot. These are good answers, by the way. Implementation and results. Dr. Charlie says you have the solution to their problem. Mike Semmel says more than $20,000 in perceived value. Gina, finding people with money to spend. They want to invest in their progress and have money. They implement and the ability to pay. Okay, those are all good answers. And most of you got to the actual answer. So if you have the answer to the question was actually in the beginning of the question. If you have a $20,000 coaching program, it is important for you to have people who, my criteria, by the way, it's like this. I want people who recognize the value of good information. I want people with a track record of implementation. I want people in my group that I want to hang out with and have a glass of wine with, or maybe a beer. Because in our masterminds, we're social, we get together, and We have fun in addition to doing, mastermind work together. But fundamentally, if you have a $20,000 coaching program, the first thing that someone needs to get into the program is $20,000. Okay? So here's the reason I tell you this. If you're targeting broke entrepreneurs, in other words, if you're targeting people who are just starting, like maybe, like for example, there's a guy that does a podcast, and I was on this podcast, great guy, but targets career people who want to transition into the entrepreneur world. Well, listen, you're not going to have a lot of success getting people into a $20,000 mastermind if you're just having people that are just transitioning into entrepreneurship. However, give me somebody who's been in business, give me somebody who's got a little bit of a track record, give me somebody who's already got their corpus of knowledge and information, give me somebody who can afford to invest in a program, and I can completely transform their lives. That's why the very first consideration, I think I heard this from Bill Glazer first, is he said the thing was the person needed to be able to write a check for $20,000. And fundamentally, that's what it is. And that's the reason why I say that market sometimes is the most important thing. That's the reason why in coaching, one of the very first things I do is take a huge step back to market, because most entrepreneurs, you're buried in media. You're thinking like, Ed, what's the social media I could use? And by the way, when you come to Big Pivot, I'm going to tell you the answer to that, okay? People are like, hey, what should I do to get in front of my market? And those answers are all available to you, but you need to focus in on the market first. Okay, so let me do this really quickly. I'm going to pull up the Big Pivot page. Now, I'm not going to walk. I don't think we have time today to walk through this video. All right, but I'm gonna go through some of the components of this page and tell you why certain things are where they are. Okay, so let's start with this page right here. Now, the first thing you'll see is when it comes to the actual layout of the page, this is my personal preference and recommendation when it comes to online sales letters. Okay, now let me explain the difference between like for example, if I took you to edrush.com, this is not a sales letter. This is more of what I would call a brochure site. You see, I've got all this extra links up here, okay, that have all of my blog and all the products and that sort of thing. This would be more like what I would consider a brochure site or a branding site. But when you say, for example, like when you click here and it goes to events, what you see is it clicks you directly over to a page. Now, the page is this page that I just showed you, and this page actually look pretty similar in terms of look and feel and branding and colors, but they are drastically different in terms of the navigation of the page. Let me explain what I mean by this in just a few clicks. Okay, see when I come up here, if I click on this, it's going to take me to the top of the page. All right, if I click on overview, it's going to take me to the top of the page. If I click on 80-year opportunity, it's going to take me down on the page. If I click on About Ed, it's going to take me farther down on the page. If I click on Hear from Attendees, it's going to take me farther down on the page. If I take to Guarantee, it's going to take me farther down on the page. When I click into Sign Up, it's going to take me all the way to the bottom of the page. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. Every single one of these clicks right here took me on this page. In other words, the only option that people have right here is to stay on this page somehow, okay? Which brings me to one of my first tips when it comes to your online copy, which is this. If you've got a page that you want someone to take action on, not a brochure website that brands you as a person, even though I do have action steps that are on that website. If you have, for example, an opt-in page, if you have a sales page that sells something, I want to give people one of two options. Option number one is to say yes. That's what I want them to do. And option number two is to say no. I want them to decide yes or no. I don't want them to bounce around. I don't want them to go from video to video to video. I want them to decide. And so you'll see when you get to this page, very important component is that everything on this page is designed as a filter system to continue to filter people into this particular piece of copy. Okay, so I talked about the headline on Thursday. The 2020 crisis has created a massive opportunity that occurs once every 80 years. This is the fundamental premise of Big Pivot, okay? And then this is really the core to the offer, all right? Give me 3 days, and I'll show you how to exploit it for more profit, more peace of mind, and more freedom than ever before, okay? This is what's called a benefit stack. profit, peace of mind, freedom. Okay, so there's 3 benefits stacked right here at the end of this. And here's the thing, when somebody hits this headline, at the very least, they know, okay, this is the value proposition. There's something that changed. There's an opportunity that opened up. And if I take 3 days to come to this event, I'm going to leave with more profit, more peace of mind, and more freedom. And it's my job now in the sales letter to bring this to fruition, okay? Just in terms of videos, I mentioned this last week, but I'll just do this for you now. My preference on videos is for the video, I'm going to refresh this and just show you. The video should auto load, okay? So it's playing automatically right now. You can see there's a lot already happening on this video right here. But I like this button here at the top that basically says, hey, there's sound on here, but it's not on. So I like it loading automatically so somebody doesn't have to press play, that it plays automatically with subtitles so someone can see all the stuff that's actually happening, like if they're sitting in a dentist office or something like that. But then they have the opportunity here, check it out. The trajectory of the world. In fact, the trajectory of see how that just worked right there, and then it just turned on the sound. Okay, so that's my preference on videos. Now, these 2 right here are sub-headlines. I talked about those on Thursday. And then this is the beginning of the discussion. Okay, so now you'll remember when I went into a discussion of what a great sales letter is, you remember I said headline, sub-headline, introduction, and story. I'm going to get into the section now called introduction and story. And again, this is the place where you're taking someone into your sales message and bringing them further on. So remember that what I'm about to teach you is not just for online sales letters like the one that I'm showing you. This works for books. This works for webinars. I'm doing another webinar tomorrow with Jonathan Sprinkle's list, and I'm going to be saying the same kind of things that you see here, an introduction and then a story to bring people into your message, followed by some benefits. Okay, so the next part you're going to see is that section, the introduction and the story. So back to the website. Okay, so here we go. This is the beginning of the bold claim. I believe this is the time of single greatest opportunity the world has ever seen. Okay, but now is the time to rapidly pivot and make that happen. So this introduction here is the opportunity followed by the option to take some training on this opportunity. Okay, the global pandemic has shifted business and opened new doors that you can walk through right now for more profit, productivity, and peace of mind. Which brings me to you. You have a message, a vision, a product, a service. It's going to change the world. And the really great news is now is time to finally make that happen. And I'd like to show you how. Okay, so here's the discussion of the event. And then I get into a series of if-then, an if-then series. Okay, let me kind of anchor in on this for a moment. Some of you remember when I gave the discussion at Ultimate Speaker, one of the best ways to open your talk, one of the 3 ways that I opened my talk is by saying if, then, okay? So I'll stand up in front of an audience and I'll go, if you've been wanting to make more money, if you've been wanting to live more passionately, if you've been wanting to build your business around your life and not the other way around, then this is the most important 45 minutes you'll ever hear, okay? That's an if, then opening. Well, this sales letter has a similar opening, and one of my favorite ways to open sales letters is with a few ifs and then a then, okay? So let me give you an example of how that shows up here. So if you know I know this is small, let me make this a little bit bigger, just a tiny bit. So if you know you are made for more, if you feel stuck in your business with no way to get out, if you've been successful but want to see results on a global scale, if you hate bureaucracy, red tape, and think the people running the country are stealing from you, if you've climbed the ladder of success and then ask yourself, is this it? If you realize you have the skill and makeup to change the world and you want to use your gifts for something big. Okay, this list right here is designed as an attract and repel filter system. Let me explain what I mean by this. If somebody comes on here and says, I don't know if I was made for more, or they go, I don't want to see results on a global scale, or they're like, I don't really hate bureaucracy. Like if I've got a person that's like in love with a socialist approach towards government, they're not right for me, okay? They're not right for this event. They're not right for me. And the truth is, the faster that they find out and I find out, the better. But at the same time, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to get, like I'm picturing this entrepreneur, you know, he's got a $20 million business. She's got a $25 million business. They got a team of 15 people and they're so desperate to just grow and change the world, but they feel so stuck. Like that's the kind of person that I'm writing this for, okay? You've climbed the ladder of success. You realize you have the skill and makeup to change the world, and when you want to use your gifts for something big. My ideal market would read these 3 if or these 6 ifs or 7 ifs and be like, dude, this is exactly me. This is exactly describing me, okay? And then the then is, then this is the event for you. That's because together we're gonna get very clear on your mission. Then I'm gonna show you how to rapidly pivot so you can have the income, impact, and freedom you've always wanted. So let's first discuss, and then I get into a story, okay? So this is the part, remember I told you about the next part after, this whole thing right here, by the way, was is nothing more than the introduction to the sales letter. It's didn't give them a lot of details on the actual event. It's just simply the introduction to pull them into and show them some of the benefits that they're going to receive. Now, for the right person reading this, they could get right here and be like, dude, I am totally in, okay? So then I get into a discussion. You've heard me do this probably before. I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but I will say this is the whole 80 years, right? Every 80 years, the world rapidly accelerates its evolution, leaving dumb, slow old businesses behind, making way for smart, fast, and agile. And then I go 1780, 1860, 1940, fast forward 80 years, and bam, it's 2020. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say that this pandemic should not have come as a surprise. The world is simply doing what it does every 80 years. Revolution, war, pandemic. The reason is different, the result is the same. And this sales letter really hinges on the fact that everyone right now knows everything changed, but most people don't know what to do about it, okay? And so this is opening up the conversation to, hey, you know what, everything's changed, but I'm gonna show you what to do about it, okay? And that's the story section of this sales letter, okay? Now, this section that you're looking at now, right below the story, you'll notice, by the way, the menu bar floats on the top. So anywhere you go in the sales letter, the menu bar stays there. That's my preference on that as well. So this section right here actually acts as a huge sub headline. Again, if people are scrolling through some of this, you'll see, by the way, when you watch people's actions on websites, a lot of times they'll stop on the images. So sometimes the images are what grab people in there. Also, the images are what help people imagine themselves sitting right here in this audience, just like this, okay? Now, this right here, again, it serves as a gigantic subheadline in the middle of the copy. So let's face it, your business and your life will never be the same. The faster you come to grips, the faster you can get on the good stuff, because believe me, it's a lot of good coming for you as long as you move fast. In fact, whether the new normal, this is a huge, huge hinge right here. Whether the new normal is good or bad for you depends on what you do in the next 3 to 6 months. Billionaires will be made from this global crisis, while businesses will quickly bankrupt and disappear. The result is up to you. That's because you choose what side of the cash register you stand on, and also why this upcoming live event is so important, okay? So pause there for a second. You can see that I'm already giving my reader the decision to make right here, okay? And the decision looks like this. They can decide, you know what? I'm not sure I believe all this way the world changes. That's okay if they do, but that means that this isn't right for them. Or they can be like, wow, I wonder if that's really true. And if so, now they're kind of on the fence. Or at this point, someone's like, I don't care what it is, I'm in, and that's why this little sign up button's here, okay? So this is the first time someone's starting to make a decision. Then I get into the actual discussion of the event. This is the section of the sales letter where you see the benefits and the bullets, okay? So give me 3 days and I'll show you a proven system to take advantage of a rare window of opportunity to turn your business around and do even better than before the lockdown. Subheadline, all right? And then I go into a discussion of actually what's at the event. Interestingly enough, you'll notice up until this point, I haven't really said what the event's about, because at this point it doesn't matter. All I want to show people is here's your opportunity. Here's what changed. And then in a moment, I'm going to be talking about the event, okay? So here's everything you're going to get. And then I go through the modules. And again, these are the benefits, right? So the benefits and the bullets are like this. You'll execute a super powerful personal exercise that's designed to get you completely unstuck. The simple exercise has created multi-millionaires. And once you learn it, you can do it whenever you want to create massive breakthroughs or personal shifts. One of the 3 best strategies to accelerate your dreams, goals, and mission. That way, you can change the world faster and with a lot less heartache. And you'll also learn my thus far closely held technique called heavy bat dreaming, which instantly makes near impossible dreams possible. This is just a great big gigantic curiosity bullet, okay? Again, module 2 is a section that's more benefits. This is about the new expert economy. This is how to target, attract, monetize your market, how to find your authentic voice while you connect with your ideal market, and then leave with a plan. Those again are benefits. Module 3, rebuilding for speed and agility. Module number 4 is the 20% customer filter, where I'm talking, this is an interesting bullet, by the way. Shocking but true fact, you don't need new customers, you need right customers. Okay, most business owners come to me and say, Ed, I need new customers. The truth is they need right customers. And so what this is that you're seeing right here, oh shoot, I didn't pull the page back up. Hang on. There we go. What you're seeing right here, this is the bullet. What you're seeing right here in this particular bullet right here is what's called a pattern interrupt. The pattern is I need new customers. The interrupt is you need right customers. New customers are cheap and take up all of your time. Right customers pay 10 times more. New customers take 1/10 of the right customers and take up 1/10 of your time and energy. On day 2, I'll take you through a powerful exercise that finds and attracts right customers. Going wide versus going deep. This is another pattern interrupt. Imagine how much, by the time you're done in June, you'll leave with a nano-targeted plan to go deep, find your market, and connect with them so that they'll stay, pay, and never refer. Imagine how much easier life is going to be when all you have to do is focus on one social media platform. Seriously, did you catch that? One social media platform, okay? And the idea here, again, is most people have been saying, here's all the places you need to be. And at this event, I'm going to show you there's one place that you need to be. All right, Module 6, work less, make more. Module 7, getting paid for who you are, not what you do, which is my consulting segment inside of the event. All right, here's my bio. Here are my guests right here, Jonathan and Marquetta. He's teaching connection and copy and communication, and she's teaching social media, which is going to be awesome. And then, of course, there's sort of this obligatory like COVID-19 thing that I need to put in the sales letter, which doesn't do anything for the copy other than tell people that we're going to be safe about it. Okay, now, next section you have is proof or the testimonials from people who've been to an event similar to this. Then there's the actual information about the event. Interesting thing about this is really like the first time this shows up, okay? And by the way, for those of you hanging with me right now, I'm gonna be coming to your questions in about 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, I see Gina, you got one in there. If you have any questions, shoot them in chat right now. Okay, here's the interesting thing about this little red box. This is basically just information about the event, right? But the interesting thing about this is even in here, you'll see that there's subtle benefit bombs that are dropped in here, okay? Listen, just one client, product sale, or deal pays for your entire event, and you'll get to meet some of the best entrepreneurs on the planet. So while the rest of your competition is sitting home watching reruns of the Jersey Shore, you'll be making connections that can change your life in business, okay? This section is the bonus section. So you get the recordings of the event, which usually I charge for. You'll get the personal Big Pivot Journal, which by the way, if you're signed up for this, I'm mailing this to you today. Okay, so this is coming in the mail. Then there's exercises, tools, planning and form, one-on-one coaching, and then you get to meet some of the best entrepreneurs on the planet. Okay, now, this section right here, hang on. This section right here is the decision section that I mentioned earlier on. Option number 1, pass up on this opportunity. Option number 2, go back and think about it. Option number 3, put your business and future in afterburner and grab this opportunity now. Okay, continuing on down the sales letter, there's 4 PSs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Interesting thing about the PSs, all the old school copy guys used to do a lot of research on this. PSs are actually one of the most read part of the sales letter. People like to scroll down to the bottom and catch some of the stuff on the bottom. So this is actually, this is actually pretty prime real estate that you're looking at right here. So rest of the sales letter. Guarantee, which I said is important. All right, this is the way I write my guarantees. Register. Now, And if after the first day you're not completely blown away and on the path of massive reinvention, just let me or my team know, turn in materials, and we'll give you a $100 refund plus $500 to cover any travel expenses if you come to the event, and we can still be friends. Listen, I know this is going to be the event you're still talking about 10 years from now. You just need to see it to believe it. And then there's a summary of the registration options, and then there's a checkout page. Okay, so what you'll see in that little website that I just showed you is all of the core components of a well-written copy message are sitting on there, which of course we're continuing to adjust as we spend time along the way. Okay. Last thing real quick, and then I'll get into your questions, and then we'll begin to wrap up. When it comes to the guarantee, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they put negative images in the mind of the person that they're talking to. Let me give an example of this. If you're not satisfied, you can get a full refund. Well, look, you just put a big picture in someone's head about them not being satisfied. The way that the human mind works is for them to fully embrace that sentence that you just gave them, they have to imagine not being satisfied, okay? If this program doesn't work for you, then you can get a refund. Well, now I have to imagine the program not working for me, okay? So the way that I say it is I say, if you're not totally blown away, because the picture that I want in someone's head is actually being blown away. So if you say, if you're not blown away, someone has to picture being blown away to know not blown away, okay? So if you're not completely blown away, here's what I want you to do. Send your stuff back, you'll get a full refund, and we can still be friends, all right? And I'll tell you, this never happens, okay? So like, I was at an event like 8 years ago, it wasn't my event, where one person at like day one was like, I don't want to go anymore. Fine. But by then, they're all like, everybody's a big community, you know? So, all right. So let me jump into some of the questions, and then we'll begin to wrap up today. By the way, if you just joined us, I know I was moving fast through this stuff. This is Copywriting 501, how to grab your prospects by the eyeballs and say yes. Tomorrow's show is how to write so people read and keep reading. And I'm going to talk about books and articles and blogs and websites and more. All right. So let me get into some of the questions. This is a quick one. Gina says, do you use StreamYard to record your videos as well as to do your live streams? No. So I use a little tool called ScreenFlow. That's a Mac tool. If you are a PC user, I think, I can't remember what the name of the thing is that I used to use over there. So Gina, StreamYard records and outputs right now at 720p. So I would use StreamYard because I like the lower thirds and all of the additional capabilities. But when I create a video that I put on YouTube or someplace else, I want it to output at 1080p. So I record everything personally on my end using StreamYard, or sorry, using ScreenFlow, which I don't know how expensive it is. It's probably $100 or something like that. You can find, and there's other screen recordings. So for example, most of the entrepreneurs I know are using Final Cut Pro. I just didn't figure that software out. It's a little on the complicated side, frankly. So I just found ScreenFlow to be a lot easier. It's just me. All right. Mike says, how many more people will sign up based on the long form sales letter compared to an offer with 20 to 50% of the copy? Mike, totally offer dependent and totally market dependent as well. Most of the people, Mike, that sign up for these events with me, at least half don't even read the sales letter, okay? And the reason why is because they're coming in from a webinar. So on a webinar, the webinar is the sales copy, right? So when I get on a webinar, I'm gonna do the introduction, I'm gonna tell the story, I'm gonna talk about the bullets, I'm gonna talk about the benefits, I'm gonna talk about the price, I'm gonna justify the price. That all happens on the webinar. And then usually on the webinar, I'm like, now the first 5 people, and then I give them a bonus. And then usually, I'm not kidding you, like I'll say the website, and within 2 minutes, I'll start getting people to all buy. What that means is they literally went to the website, click sign up now, bang, push the button and bought, and maybe they went back and read the sales letter later, but it was done on the webinar. Now, what I will do is I'll use the webinar as an interest vehicle as well. So for example, when I do a Zoom meeting, I'll get like 200 to 300 people that will register for the Zoom meeting, and maybe 100 will actually show up. But that means there's still 200 to 300 people who clicked on the copy and was like, I'm kind of interested in this. So what I do, Mike, is instead of sending a mass email out to my whole list, that's like, here's the offer. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just send to the smaller list of people that register for the Zoom meeting. That way I'm not blasting my whole list all the time. But these smaller group of people, I'll say, here's the website and the deadline, and then they'll go, and those people will be typically reading a little bit more, okay? So the answer to the question really is you only need to write enough to get the point across, nothing more, but also nothing less. ScreenFlow is 129. Yes, that's thank you. The website, the tool, the PC tool is called Camtasia, and Final Cut Pro I think works for both, but again, I don't use that. Oh, that's great that you got to meet Kyle. Very cool. Okay, Wendell Bugs is the last question. By the way, if you have any questions, put them in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Wendell says, why the difference in color backgrounds, white versus red? All right, so good catch, by the way. I really like that question. Now, you'll notice when you go to this website that there's different backgrounds across this website. For the most part, this is really important. Your website should be black or blue on white, okay? So black or dark blue, which is what this is, on white with some red, but not a lot of red, okay? So for the most part, your copy should be black on white. This is tested and converted. Now, the reason for these little blocks, Wendell, is remember I said most people come to a sales letter and do this? They start scrolling. Well, these blocks are designed to catch someone's eye and bring them into this little subheadline. Okay, so you'll notice that I don't do all white all the way down because what I'm trying to do is bring people into different parts of the copy in different ways. Okay, but you can see the largest majority of the website is blue or black on white. All right, so these again are just designed to pull people into the copy along the way. And these sections, by the way, black or blue on white or gray. So the gray background, again, is just designed to delineate the markers in here. It's designed to help make it easier for people to read long pages with just words on white. It tends to create strain on people's eyes. And you'll see throughout this entire website, there's all different kinds of techniques that I use to bring people back into the copy, like this, the bolding, different colors a little bit along the way, different size fonts along the way, the use of italics in important parts, okay, the breakout in the little check marks, all those different things are designed, again, to engage the person's eyeballs. Nowadays, people are a lot more difficult to keep engaged on things like this, right? So even little things like you can see the event attendee picture sitting here, all those little things actually kind of start to add up after a while. And it looks like a really professional website that is representing a professional event as well, okay? This is all, Wendell, this is all my branding colors, by the way. So my brand colors are, if you look at Big Pivot, this image right here, this is it right here. There's that red, there's that blue, and there's white and gray. You'll see all my brand is just those colors. So when I write my stuff, I keep my stuff in that colors as well. Like for example, go over to this website, you can see the same thing. It's literally the same color palette, okay? So good question, thank you for that. All right, let me see if I got any other questions. What's up, Robert? All right, I think we come to the end of that. Man, did we do that? We did this in 3 parts, by the way. So Copywriting 501, this is part 3. I promised to walk through the sales letter and show you the key components on that. We started, by the way, I think it was like last Tuesday, we started with a discussion of targeting your market, beginning to build your message for your market. On Thursday, last week, part 2, I went through all the components of a well-written piece of copy. And then today we did part 3, which is walking through the actual sales letter. So I at one point thought about doing a copywriting event where literally we spent like 2 days working it out where you guys got your copywriting done. But the next event is probably after Big Pivot, either going to be a consulting event or an author event. I haven't decided yet. So if you have your feedback, the consulting event is designed to show you how to come out of the box and get at least $5,000 deals. The author event is designed for you to become a bestseller in your niche quickly using the power of our community. Create your cover, your title, your subtitle, all that stuff. I'd bring in my own graphics people to help you out at an event like that. So there's a couple ideas. Gina says, your courses are built in Kajabi. What website builder or platforms do you use for edrush.com and the Big Pivot event? All right, so Gina, these 2 websites are actually built on WordPress. So all of my public-facing websites Kajabi's my membership portal behind the scenes. All my public-facing websites are all built on top of WordPress. So even if I, for example, create a landing page inside of ClickFunnels, I take the coding from that page and put it on my WordPress page. I've got pretty robust security package built into my WordPress, so everything is nicely contained so that it's not as vulnerable as some other sites may be out there, and it's all built inside of my ecosystem. So everything that is forward-facing, okay, is built by my team, Web Vitality. So the website, by the way, it's just Tom. His name is actually, Lisa, if you could just type his email in there. Tom@webvitality.net, I think is his email. Let me see if I can find it. If you're interested in getting help on your website, I've not met anyone quite like Tom and his team. Okay, so, and I've been in business. Oh, here you go. Let me just put this. Here. I'm putting his email right in the chat. All right, so I've probably had 12 different web designers over the last 13, 14 years of business. Most web people are flakes. Most people will do a great job for about a month or two, and then they disappear and you're trying to get your website changed. This is his business, and his team is fast. I'm talking like you're thinking about it changing and it changed. You didn't even write the email. That's how fast they are, okay? So I recommend, if you're gonna have your own online brand, to at least have somebody who's professional to be able to implement it for you. And people notice the difference. You know, this website looks good. It looks the part. Yep. WordPress is simple. Consulting event. Man, I'm on the. I usually have the answer. I usually know for sure what it's going to be. This is their website, by the way. But I don't know about this one. In fact, I'll probably let y'all vote, incidentally, at the event or something like that. Again, I'm going to go in either direction, but the one's going to be designed to get your book done, book branded, bestseller. The other one is designed to how to create $5,000 to $10,000 deals right out of the box. And I've got hundreds of success stories on the consulting side. Well, the book side too. I probably have over 1,000 bestsellers I've helped. But the consulting side, literally millions and millions of dollars in deals. So I'd love your feedback on that. The other thing would be interesting if you would let me know. I'm also wondering whether to do a live version of the event while streaming it, or to just do a digital version of the event. Ultimate Speaker went so much better than I was expecting, us being able to do that digitally, deliver the product digitally. So I was thinking, shoot, man, maybe we could just do it digitally, stream it out over a couple of weeks, so that way you get to digest the content in a little bit of a more digestible format. So anyway, any thoughts you have on that are always appreciated as well. Yeah, so Gina just said, most WordPress sites I've seen look like WordPress sites. So yeah, so that's just because my team knows what they're doing, all right? So again, there's a reason why you use professionals. I don't play around when it comes to buying traffic. I don't play around when it comes to graphics or branding. Anything that's forward-facing, Gina, that's what I'm investing in personally. Some of the back-end stuff, I'm happy to be a little cheaper on, frankly, but the stuff that faces the world, I put the money into to make it look the way that it needs to look. And that's my personal preference, but I always tell my team, this is important, by the way. And Delisa will tell you this, the first conversation we had. So when I communicate with my team priorities, I'll tell you how it works. Priority number one is 100% authenticity, integrity, and ethics. In other words, we will never say something and not do it. We always fulfill our promises. We always underpromise, overdeliver. That's step one. That's the most important thing in our business. Period. Dot. That's it right there at the highest. The second bit down is brand integrity. Okay, so the forward-facing brand needs to have the integrity of a forward-facing brand. In other words, it should look like a brand, and it shouldn't deviate from the brand. So that's why you don't see me doing like I'm not out like pitching multi-level marketing products one day and then something else the next day. I do have clients, by the way, in MLM, so nothing against the MLM world, but the brand is a cohesive brand. You know what I'm saying? So like if I'm talking about business building or copywriter or consulting or authors or productivity, it's all sitting inside of the brand, but I'm not out here like doing like a fitness class. You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not my brand. So brand integrity is the second thing, and then everything else comes underneath that. So that's why we put the money into that. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up today. By the way, don't forget tomorrow, I'm gonna do a segment, at least one, maybe more, on writing, how to inspire yourself to write great copy and to engage, or not great copy, how to write great books and articles that engage your reader, and we're gonna go a little bit deeper on that as well. Interestingly enough, it's gonna start back with your market. It's like the same answer to the same question. All right, I love you and I like you, and don't forget your mission in your job is to change the world. I will see you tomorrow. EdTalks Live is out.